In this episode, we're going to be going over horn bodies. Now, there are two distinctive bodies that we sell. There is what's known as a large body or a big body, or as I like to call a full body. The second one is a mini body. Okay, the difference obviously is they're two different sizes. Each horn is used for a different application. I'll get into that later on in another episode. But today we're going to be talking about the actual bodies themselves. Now, in a lot of cases, people don't understand exactly what a horn is doing or what it is. They like to say that they're large tweeters or something like that, but they're not. The area of the throat the area size of the throat helps us allow to have a lower crossover point in comparison to a regular tweeter. Tweeter naturally goes about 5K to 4K range. These can play, like in the mini body, down to 1,000, and on the full bodies and stuff, you can get these down to 700 hertz. By having that gives us a lot of range and the ability to change a lot of stuff actually when you're tuning a car. So it's nice to have that. But one of the major things about the actual horn, or in our case, our horn, we call HLCDs. And HLCD just simply stands for horn loaded compression driver. What has made us different from, like, say, a waveguide, which is another style of horn, is that our pattern output is controlled. The interior of the structure of the horn throat is actually controlling and actually decreasing certain frequencies across its throat. I'll go into more detail about this and why this is good in an episode about tuning and stuff. But for right now, that's the main differences between us and like a waveguide. Why it's better, because it helps control output. Now, another question, or a question that I get a lot of, is about mounting. How do I mount one of these things? How do they go in a car, and etc. The first thing to note will be is where the motor is located at. As you can see here on the mini body, motor is located here on the far end. Same thing with the big body. Now, these would be what I would call driver's side horns, okay? Because the reason why I would say that would be is because the kick panel is going to be lined up here. What you don't ever want to do is you do not want to ever mount the horn backwards like this, where you have the center console, going across here. That is completely the wrong direction you want the horn. Because of the controlling factor of the lens, it would sound completely bizarre. I've had some people do that, and sure enough, they've called me up and said, "Man, it sounds terrible." But you just don't want to do that. So again, remember, where your A-pillar is sitting at, that is where the motor is always going to face. So you just remember that as a golden rule. The next thing is that the material that we use the horns, the main body is cast out, is pure urethane. One of the major things about urethane is that it can fracture very easily if you have like a sharp, or like you take a sharp blow to the horn body or something, like say you drop it on the ground and stuff, you can actually fracture the body. Or if you drive a screw in without doing any kind of pre-drilling, you can actually again fracture the body. It's very similar like a diamond. It's a super hard material, and so it's very fragile in terms of when you drive a screw through it, it'll actually fracture the whole structure. So remember that whenever you're going to drive a screw or put a bolt or do something like that, you want to go ahead and pre-drill a hole through. In this body here, this is a pre-installed one and stuff like that. A guy had done and put a back strap, used some sort of like a back strap here, and basically mounted it on the back side here. And what he did was he went ahead and pre-drilled the hole all the way through the body. Also, on the other thing is that you don't want to, when you're doing this, you don't want to have any of the screws protruding in the throat area at all. You want no protrusion in the throat area. That is a bad thing. So you must countersink everything you do. Once that's done, there's one more aspect of this. There's these long sections on each side of the throat, which are actually just pure cosmetics. They are not there for anything else but cosmetics. In the early days, when we did horns and stuff, when Eric Stevens, the creator of these horns, when he built this, his original idea was that the leading edge of the dash would be right here, and it would extend up like this. And so the idea here was if he had this flat area across this, he could then take a big steel grill, and put it over it, and then cover it with grill cloth, and it would have this nice cosmetic look to it. And so That later on we found out, as time went on, we found out, well, that actually wasn't actually the best way of mounting the horn because of path length problems. And so that was changed, but our mold still has the long tabs on it. So you can actually remove these long tabs. These don't have to be on there. As again, like in this particular one, this is a mini, and as you can see, it's quite different in size from the stock OEM unit. The throat was cut all the way down to the very end, and then again, he didn't cut it down here because he was using it for because he was mounting it onto the side of the wall. So you can cut all this down off if you want to, but remember, golden rule: do not cut into the throat area of the whenever you're cutting down. You never want to cut into that throat because that will actually change the performance of the horn itself. There is one exception to the rule, which again I'll explain to in another episode. Now, once you've gotten down to cutting these pieces down and stuff like that, now you need to mount it. One of the ways to do mounting and stuff like that is using the backstrap materials that come with us. We send you a very large gauge steel piece of a mounting strap, several of them and stuff. One of the ways that I like to use it is, and it's kind of hard to see this little piece, but this here is a speed tab, okay? And what it's designed to do is that you just simply lock it onto your backstrap here, and then when you drive the screw through, the screw, it's just basically it's so the screw will have something to screw onto, so now it won't come loose. So just like in this one here, the guy had already drilled the hole through and stuff, so he would then drop the screw in, obviously, and then just simply screw the two pieces together. And then he would have this extension on the backside of his thing. So from there on, he now has this long strap extension that he can now work on to figuring out how to mount it in the car. Many a times over the years and stuff, I've come up with some really kooky angles and designs and convoluted looking freaking back straps just to get this to work. So it is a bit of work, but it is actually the best way to do it. Sometimes in the past, I have gone to the extreme of using steel straps, aluminum straps, just simply so that the horn can't move at all. That would be another way of doing that. And here on this piece, where he did at the end, the same thing would happen. You'd take your back strap, mount it here, and then probably just bend it, at a right angle, and then he would drive a screw in through the side. So what you would end up with is you would end up with a screw being driven into what would be this on this side here. That would be the A-pillar, and so you just drive a screw right in there. So you'd have an anchor point here and an anchor point here, and that would keep the horn from moving. The last area that I like to do is I usually put one on the motor hole. Back here in the back, there's two screws that mount the thing on there. So I'll put it on the outside here, and I'll put a bolt through it, and I'll pre-drill this out to the size it needs to be, and then put a strap on the backside. That way, I can keep the horn from pitching, okay? Because you can have the two already there, but the back will still want to pitch because it has this heavy motor on it. So this gets rid of that problem. So anyway, those are the basics on that. And I can go into more detail when I have time on a different video. But until then, I am Matt Bogart. You have a good day.